It was a cold, late autumn Sunday, May 18th, 2025, and we're at Menangle as an Explorer car set from New South Wales Trainlink is seen heading towards Campbelltown with commuters. We're here to await R766 from the picnic train, as it makes its way to Thirlmere, where on this day had held its annual Festival of Steam. This will be the loco's second visit to the village since 2023. The picnic trains 4903 and 4836 from Junior Railway Workshops, an accredited rail operator that maintains and repairs locos and rolling stock at Junior, New South Wales's Riverina region, are seen assisting the train. The two diesel locos took the train from Sydney and met up with the R-Class at Enfield. R766 is still waiting for its accreditation to run on Sydney Trains' tracks as of this video's release, and they hope to have it run on Sydney Trains' system before the end of the year. The locomotive is now seen pulling into Picton, where it will be switched to the line heading towards Thirlmere. The last time a mainline heritage train ran to Thirlmere from Sydney for the festival was in March 2017, and the locomotive hauling what was the Thirlmere Flyer was 3642 when it was painted in green, which we had covered as our April special edition, and the link to that video is in the description. The R-Class now makes its way up the banks, heading towards the New South Wales Rail Museum at Thirlmere. We now move to the museum with R766 sitting on the turntable at the roundhouse, ready to be turned and serviced. After that, it will move to Thirlmere Station to be put on display for the afternoon. The turntable demonstration was advertised through the booklet of the festival from the museum, and it brought out a big crowd to witness something that might be a rarity to some. 3642 is seen in the roundhouse, while 3801 can be seen next to it with work being done to get it ready back in time for the second half of 2025. We now see the R-Class taking a spin. As R766 backs away, the chuffing sound in the background were 3001 and 3265 on one of their shuttle trips to Buxton. As the R class finished its demonstration, we now move to the museum forecourt to see 2705 in its resplendent red livery offering cab visits. The 27 class loco returned to service in 2025 to run as James the Red Engine for the museum's Day Out with Thomas events. To appease Mattel's demands, the copyright owners of the Thomas the Tank Engine franchise, 2705 could only be seen as James on Thomas days, hence the number 5 was replaced by the New South Wales Government Railway loco on the tender here. We had covered the Thomas event that was held at the museum in March 2025, with the 27 as James, and will be shown in this year's upcoming autumn edition, which comes out later in May. With its safety valve lifted, 3526 is seen at Thirlmere Station, getting ready for another trip to Picton, with 4201 at the rear of the train. As the loco is being filled with water from a nearby standpipe, 3820 can be seen outside of the museum, in readiness for its trip to Chamora to be statically restored. 3820 was one of the 25 non-streamlined locos from the 38 class fleet, and as one of the even-numbered locomotives, it was rolled out of the New South Wales Government Railway Workshops in Everleigh in 1947. While 3820 is not as famous as 3801, it's famous in its own right. In 1964, it had hauled the last steam-operated Riverina Express, and the final revenue steam duty on the main South Line beyond Goulburn. It was the last 38 class loco to be overhauled while in service in 1968, and it worked the final steam-hauled express passenger train in Australia, as well as being the last 38 class in revenue service in 1970. After that, it was preserved by the museum and did steam trips, including to Melbourne, Victoria with 3801 in 1973, and in 1974 worked the last steam tour with 3203 and 3526 after Philip Shirley implemented the infamous steam ban, which didn't last long. Its last run was in 1975, holding the museum's exhibits from Everleigh to Thirlmere. Also in the courtyard were some pump trolley demonstrations. With the passengers on board and getting the all clear to go, 3526 now heads off to Picton once again. Near 2705 is the four-wheel vertical boiler coal grab 1064, which was designed for coaling steam locomotives in smaller country depots that had lacked formal servicing facilities. It was constructed by the Austral Otis Engineering Company in 1918 at their Alfred Harmon Works in Port Melbourne, Victoria, and entered service on the New South Wales Government Railway as L09 in the same year. It was numbered 1064 during the New South Wales Government Railway renumbering scheme of 1924. It was withdrawn from service in 1971 at Everleigh Depot and was preserved by the museum in working order. It was dismantled to be transported by rail to Thirlmere in 1975 during the museum's big move from Enfield. Meanwhile, 4807 is seen pulling in from Buxton with 3265 and 3001 at the other end. As more passengers hop on board the two locos, we see more at 1064. Later, after the 30 and the 32 left for Buxton, 3526 is now seen pulling into Thirlmere, ready for its next shuttle to Picton. As it pulls into the station, R766 is seen on display nearby as mentioned earlier. Before we see the departure, we take a closer look at the R-Class. And visit its cab, which feels nice and warm away from the cold atmosphere. (4201) will now lead the train to Picton once again. (4807) returns to Thirlmere once again with 3001 and 3265 from Buxton, and will get ready for their last train for the day. We leave the town of Thirlmere and move to the banks to see 3526 climbing its way on its return journey from Picton. We moved to Kurajad, where we were just in time to see 4807 pulling the train on the return journey to Thirlmere. Moving back to Thirlmere, we see 4201 once again leading the train back to Picton on its final run for the day and the festival. Once again, we see the 35 leading the train on its return journey. With the festival over for another year, R766 now makes its way as far as Campbelltown, where it will be uncoupled from the two diesels for a parallel run. After that, R766 will then go on to its base at Chullora, while the two diesels head to Strathfield and Sydney with their returning passengers. We now move to Matthews Lane Bridge in Picton, and we see B16 Bernie Baker and 4532 from Southern Short Haul Railroad passing through, heading for Goulburn. B16 was seen in its silver Streamliners livery, an event which was held at Goulburn Roundhouse in 2016 and 2022 with other streamlined diesel locomotives. We now conclude this special edition with R766 passing under us.